Welcome on the News Review Belt. Here we slice and dice. We get into the newspapers, bring you the latest from that world. And we'll see whether we'll be joined by our guest this morning. If not, you're stuck with me and I'm stuck with you as well. Not that it's anything bad. It's always positive. But just start sharing your thoughts with me. I'd like to know what you think about, for those of you who missed especially the probe last night, about the 3-day demonstration of Democracy Hub. What you make of it, what you think were the gains, the takeaways from that event, the lessons learned. What do you think about how the police comported itself, especially on day one, with the arrest of the 49, which some have suggested were actually 56, and matters arising? Will this make the exercise of, 21(1)(d) of our Constitution more actionable, more practical in the face of the Public Order Act? It has become a bit of a ritual where when massive demonstrations are planned, you would see the police service come in and say, no, you can't embark on this demonstration and this and that for public safety reasons or for security reasons, like was pointed out in the last endeavor to go to the Jubilee House. Over the course of the 3 days, the police did not allow the demonstrators to get to the seat of the presidency. Some of us are asking, why? What do they have to be afraid of at the presidency? At the White House, I've actually seen people picket the White House. It's a security zone. Yet people have gone there, maybe not within the inner perimeter, but people have gone to that facility to demonstrate, to protest. Are we any different? Or when it comes to the standards, since we like talking about standards and democracy and all of those flowery terms that mean practically nothing, are we exercising a very different form of democracy? Yesterday, speaking to Salam Mustafa, who is National Youth Organizer of the New Patriotic Party, he said, well, he disagreed with the actions of the police and that modern policing shouldn't involve what we saw. But then again, he said, which got me scratching my head, curious, that if the demonstrators had got to the Jubilee House, they would have, the Jubilee House staff would have taken any petition that the people had. But wait, the police was preventing them from getting there. What do you think? Has our police service been weaponized against us, the taxpayers who put clothes on their back? The navy blue they wear is paid by your tax money and my tax money, of course, their tax money included. They are fed by our taxes. That's what is used to pay them. I want you to share your thoughts with me on that all-important matter, even as we get into the newspapers. But this segment, always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. And of course, they are offering free prostate screening if you're a man, free fertility screening if you're a woman. Here's where you can locate them. They are here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's also Kumasi Kronomabwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrady Anaji State, there's Tema Community 22, there's Tichiman Hanswa and there's Siaman Zama. If you'd like to call them, which I proffer that you do, the numbers are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the newspaper review. So I'm waiting for your thoughts. I'm going to activate my Facebook now so Joy News on Facebook. I'm going there now. If you shoot comments, I will see them and then I will respond accordingly. I'll also introduce to you shortly our guest for the newspaper review as he comes on board. Let me just get some of those details to share with you. I'll get the name of our guest. It's a first time, so I'm not too familiar with his name. I'll get his name and then we'll take it from there. In the meantime, the Finder newspaper says, we're just doing our work and not harassing traders. The GRA says so. Diaspora investors vital for Africa's prosperity. That's according to the APN. Oforiatta welcomes Ghana's selection to host CVF Secretariat. And lots of talk, isn't there? Lots of talk. That's what we like. We're good at talk. French classes for 2000 commences to serve French-speaking tourists better. That's according to Dr. Ibrahim Mohamed Awal, Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture. CSOs applaud Afarinik and Cocobot on cocoa rehab feed, and Radio Adan journalist on trial over publication of fake news about MacDan, fake in quotation marks, is dead. All right. Let me bring on board our guest for the morning, sociologist, political analyst as well, Dr. Christopher Ampadu. He is our guest. Doc, a very good morning to you, sir. Hello, Dr. Ampadu. Doc, can you hear me, sir? All right, so we'll try to rectify that and get the connection with Dr. Ampadu. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
It's good to have you. First time joining the conversation. Where are you joining us from? I'm curious.
I'm joining you from Amasaman.
Amasaman, it's good to have you. I wonder what your neighborhood was like when the rains came just some 2 or 3 days ago. For me, I experienced a lot of flooding. Took me 2 hours to get home. What was it like for you, sir?
I had traveled to the central region, and so I was around Cape Coast when the rains started. My problem was when I was getting to Accra from Kasua, I had to spend over 2 hours in the traffic just because the whole place is so blocked and there was no way for me to go through. It was a very hectic time for me. And I should have arrived home around 8 o'clock, but I was at home around 10:30, getting to 11 o'clock.
Wow.
It was so, and you see, I was wondering what is wrong. The problem from Wager, the Kasua toll has been there for years. So does it mean that the government is not concerned? Now you look at the people, look at the traffic, look at women Friday, and you see people who have closed from work and have to spend hours just because anytime it rains, that road is blocked. And it seems there is nobody to do anything about that problem. And it's so sad, very, very sad.
And you say nobody, of course, that somebody supposedly is the team we call government. That is why we bring in officials of state to benefit from the largesse of the state. We pay them well so that they can work for us. In other jurisdictions, that is what applies. But here, I don't know. We've had problems. And of course, we cannot single out just this administration. This thing with flooding and rains and everything has been with us throughout this fourth republic. And you ask yourself what kind of country this is. That was the question I was asking myself. I was so infuriated, I even typed some stuff on our group page here. I mean, I was literally, the water was up to my car tires. And mine is a saloon car. It's not a four-wheeler. It's not a pickup truck. So you have to go slowly, snail pace, because you want to avoid water entering your engine, because that will lead to a devastating problem. You don't have the means to deal with such problems, the cost of it alone. And I was just asking myself, and even that was my stretch. Imagine your stretch. Imagine the Kasua Wager stretch. Look at the China Mall in Ashaiman. It was literally overtaken by floodwaters. And I was asking myself, what country is this? I don't know. You've been alive longer than I have. I don't know what you think.
For me, it's horrible, and it's also very sad because this is, I think, one, we don't even have a government who is so concerned. Two, the engineering that went into the construction of the road, it seems the engineers do not have a solution, because this is not one-time problem. It has been a consistent problem all the time. And there was a time Parliament even took a decision to inspect some of these roads and to check if some solutions can be used. And up to now, there's nothing. And when it rains, you see the hopelessness, as if we don't have a government who is so much concerned about the people. And it's so sad. It's so sad. Sometimes I cannot just understand, because we are not too poor as a nation. God has blessed us with all the resources. People don't have a quarter of what we have, and they are able to take care of some of these problems that keep on emerging all the time. And we have people in governments, in various offices, who care more about their salary, about getting something to their pocket, something that they can always just make themselves so good and feel proud, being government officials, allowing, Moto, right, to go before them. And yet, look at the nation. How can we be proud in such a country? How can we say that, yes, we are so rich, even though nothing's been done? So it is so sad that this problem is not a recent problem, as you rightly said. And yet, there seems to be nobody who cares. And it is a sad situation we have. I think as we get ourselves into elections, we should think through people who really care, not people who want to come to government and make themselves good, but people who care for Mother Ghana, people who care for people who have the heart of compassion. When they see issues like this, they will be worried and they will have compassion. Says, yes, we want to come in, not just to fill our pockets, but to bring solutions, not just to talk about it, but people who will come and bring solutions to some of these problems.
But even as we get into the papers, I don't know how much more wary we can be. Beware the wolf, the bed bag wolf. There are these ones, they'll masquerade as sheep when indeed they are wolves. And what haven't we heard? The very things you're saying. I'm here to serve you, and we'll protect the public purse. And we'll do this and we'll do that. Look at us today. But anyway, let's get into the finer newspaper. We're just doing our work and not harassing traders. That's according to the GRA. Recently, I heard something about a celebrity tax. I hope it's someone's bad dream and that doesn't actualize, because yes, some of us get certain gigs, and of course, you take 7.5% as withholding tax. I think it makes no sense to me. After all the taxes laden on Ghanaians, why are we still paying? I think we're probably the only country paying a COVID-19 levy still. The other day, I did the math. You foot a bill of around 400 plus cedis, 490 cedis, and you're spending over 100 cedis in taxes alone. That's the tax component. And you're saying you're going to introduce what tax? What tax, GRA? You may tax the people into the ground. You are the tax experts. You should know better. You tax people into the ground, they'll find ways of not avoiding tax, which is allowed, evading tax. And that's where you don't want to get. And I ask myself sometimes even, these taxes we pay, what have they done for us?
It's true.
Paying taxes is good. It's a good thing. In other jurisdictions, it is working for them. So even if you're paying up to 40%, forking out 40%, with that 40%, if you need the fire service, they'll be there in the twinkling of an eye. If you need the police to assist you, not here where sometimes you will call and they'll tell you, oh, sir, okay, so wait till morning and then we'll come. When you need health care, you need oxygen. And there was a day during COVID, I would have died. Because I literally, there was no assistance. Everybody was asleep. I went to 3 public medical facilities. That's why I've stopped going to public medical facilities. 3 of them. No one could help me. Thankfully, my problem resolved. I needed oxygen. They didn't have it, among other things. So sometimes it's not about, we've been in those jurisdictions. Nobody should come and school us about, and if you go elsewhere, what pertains here? What are you giving me here? For my tax money, what are you giving me? That's the question. But the story on page 11, before I let you come in, Doc, sometimes I get so upset with all these authorities thinking they can do whatever they like in the name of nation building. What nation are we building? What building have we done? really.
No.
But we are just doing our work and not harassing traders. The Ghana Revenue Authority has denied accusations by the Ghana Union of Traders and the Traders Advocacy Group, TAG, that the authority has composed several task forces to harass and extort and arrest their goods in transit with the view of imposing heavy fines on their owners. The GRA, in its response, asserts that it employs various methods, such as invigilation and compliance visits, to value-added tax registered entities to test purchase, and where they find infractions on this duty, those entities are closed down. Okay, that's fine. Good to hear. We like a lot of the talk. I'm still concerned about what happens with my taxes and how they benefit me. Even if you want me to pay 60%, and I know that my taxes will really be used. Look at our roads. Look at our roads. My car shocks and everything. You have to continuously do maintenance, and you are telling me about taxes. French classes for 2000 commences. That story is on page 2. Now, the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture and Ghana Tourism Authority have begun a 3-month French language training program for premium frontline hospitality personnel and industry players. The project seeks to improve the ability of industry players to attract tourists from the sub-region and beyond, as well as provide hotels with multilingual staff who will be receptive to French speakers. Mr. Editor, Elvis Darko, you say the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture and Ghana Tourism Authority, and you say has. Some of these things. Those petty things should not be happening. Of course, 2 entities, plural. But interesting point, Doc, that is made. And I've always supported this. I've always felt that we should learn French. If no language at all, every Ghanaian should be familiar with French. Unfortunately, it's not what we see. How do you react to that story and that from the GRA harassing GUTA and TAG members?
Thank you so much. As you rightly said, French is so important. My work, I train pastors across West Africa, and I'm in charge for 15 West Africa countries. And learning French, I think, is so important for us in Ghana. Surprisingly, for the English-speaking countries, it seems speaking English makes us so proud that we think it's enough to take us globally. And so people are not keen when it comes to learning French. But then we are so much surrounded with the Francophone countries such that I think we have no option than to learn French. Learning French would really put you into the global page whereby you become relevant. Again, many Francophone countries will want to spend their holidays in Ghana. And if they do come and they realize that even communication is a basic problem that they are not comfortable with, I think they will not be encouraged to come. And so I believe it's a good thing, but we're starting too late. And it's a good thing to start now. At least the basic ones, we should have the idea of communicating, greetings, how are you, and how's life, that kind of thing. And I think it gives a good reception to a visitor who is visiting us for the first time or who is coming to have some fun in Ghana. In addition to that, taxes, as you rightly said, are so good. There's no country without taxes that can progress. But as you said, taxes are not just paid for payment's sake, just for you to be tax friendly. Taxes are paid for development. Taxes are paid for increase in the social welfare of humans in society. If, on the other hand, as we can see, we've been paying, for example, street lights, tax over the years. You pass through major streets in Accra and see how the whole city is in total darkness. I mean, I don't know if the tax collectors have moral duty to keep on asking for taxes. Because here we are.
That is exactly my point. Do they have the moral right to keep on asking the people for tax upon? And this is even an administration that told us they would move from taxation to production. Now we're seeing more taxation than ever. Ever.
And it's incredible why they keep on have the moral right to even ask for more taxes when even what we have been paying, they don't even explain to us how that money is being used. For street, look at the light, look at the various lighting systems that we have in the city, and you are asking, you go to a restaurant and then you pay, you are just eating for about 100 cedis, and the tax component is about 30 cedis or 45 cedis. And yet, what is that tax being used for? Talk about national insurance. Go there and see they owe in billions. Now, I don't think we should be taken for granted. The Ghanaian is being used as if he's so ignorant, he doesn't care for anything. And I think it is time we tell our government, various government, that you cannot take us for a ride. Ghanaians, I don't know, politicians have taken advantage over our quietness for all this time, and I believe it's time for us to rise up and then at least inform the government that please, 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 it is time for accountability. It is time for you to tell us what you are using our money for, because taxes are tax specific.
Right.
And if you are taking that money, and yet the same problem that the money is being taken for is not being used for that, and you have the moral duty to keep on taking, I mean, that is immoral, very immoral. You call yourself Christians? I think we should rise up to some of these things. They are taking us for granted, and we Ghanaians are people who should rise up to face the government that you don't take our money and use it anyhow. If you are taking our money for water, it should be used for water. If it's for insurance, it should be used for insurance. If it's for street lights, the street lights must come on. We shouldn't come and beg you. After all, it's our money. And
right.
I think we have allowed them to take advantage and do what they want, and we keep quiet. And that's why they keep on what they're doing. Indeed,
because we are quiet, I feel we're a bit, I don't want to use that word in this country, but we're a bit timid, and it allows leaders to do whatever they like. Let me just share a few sentiments from our viewers. Philip Alexander Lutrat says, I really love your program. You are the best. Well, thank you. That reflects on the rest of the team, from sound to camera to producers to everybody, directors to everybody on the show as well. Nikwate Boy says, I watch you guys every morning while I'm working in West Milford, New Jersey. Wow. Thank you for connecting with us all the way from New Jersey every morning. Umar Adam says, the demonstrators wasted our time for nothing. How can you organize a demo without a written petition? I don't know about wasting our time. Are you aware that they were not even allowed to get to the Jubilee House, much less speak of presenting a petition? I don't know what you followed, but those are the dynamics. And maybe this final one for now. Philip Alexander Lutrat says, look at how the government is even taxing us on betting. There is no job, and the little money we get in betting too, they are taking 10% from it. Well, it is what it is. The Daily Guide newspaper. Protesters plan to occupy Mahama's office. That story on page 3. No camping of delegates. NPP warns Flagbearer aspirants. Light Foundation marks International Peace Day. Adokufo angry over $1 billion rich tag. Of course, there was this entity that came up and said he was worth that, and that he was the third richest man. Ex-Bantama MP's death sparks controversy. Daniel Ochimabwaje, someone I've interacted with personally on a number of occasions. It's sad that he's actually met his maker at this point in time. But let's get into those stories very quickly, starting with the one on page 3. So it says the presidential election, no, not even that. Demonstrators from the Fixing the Country movement have planned to rally at the office of former President John Dramani Mahama to protest against the delay in the investigation of the Airbus scandal. The movement expressed outrage in a public notice about the, quote, nonchalant attitude being used in the Airbus corruption investigations. The convener, Ernesto Usubempa Bonsu, signed the notice which stated that it had been more than 3 years since Airbus SE, a global provider of civilian and military aircraft based in France, agreed to pay a combined penalty of more than $3.9 billion to resolve foreign bribery charges with authorities in the US, France, and the UK. According to the movement, they came from the company's plot to use third-party business partners to bribe government. But here's what the group is looking. Let me just cut to the chase. So it's about government official one, and per the statement, it turned out that the police, in fact, per the court records, government official one had such a reputation as a prolific bribe collector that within 3 weeks of the election of the incoming government, and before it was sworn in, Airbus reached an agreement with the brother. So the protesters said the British court used this to, in charge of the case, determined that Airbus used the payments to seek, quote, undue favor from a member of the Ghanaian government. It's a bit of a long story that leads nowhere, actually. If you look at it, it's just a rehash of everything we already know. What I take from the story and what I think should be the thrust of the story is this has been a long-standing issue. Even before election 2020, this Airbus thing came up. What happened? So I'm just saying, if it is much ado about nothing, throw it in the dustbin where it belongs. If there's some substance in this, and I believe if there were substance in it, even before election 2020, this government would have done something about it. So why all the hue and cry and all the noise, basically? That's what I'll say about that. I believe that where there are corrupt activities, they ought to be dealt with decisively. And the Attorney General is sitting on cases, for example, Francis Esiam and Ghana Gas and some of the things that have been said. Why are they not investigating that? So if the Airbus thing is a challenge, let's get into it. But there was a ruling in the UK court. So why are we still acting as though, I mean, if there's something to be done, let's do it. From time to time, you see this thing in the newspapers and there's no substance. There's no moving forward. What's this about? There's also, government commencing the French training, that story as well. In the middle spread of the Daily Guide newspaper, the Ghanaian publisher Vomawa sweats over bribe, lie in quotes. Sometimes it's interesting, the things we used to sell our newspapers. Of course, it would also be interesting to hear from Oliver Barker Vomawa in terms of the evidence he has. He says he has a tape, a recording. He cites the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapa. He cites a general in the army. He cites one other that I think the Finance Minister, Ken Oforiatta, as well, in terms of this 1 million deal, whatever it may have been. Oliver, the ball is now in your court. You're a lawyer, so let's do this. Political leaders sustaining corruption. That's according to Togbe Apede. Your thoughts, Doc?
Okay, thank you. I believe we see fix the country. What they are calling for has to do maybe with what we experienced, the demonstrations we experienced last week. You see, sometimes my problem is how political parties always try to make issues that are so important that government should seriously consider. They bring party politics into the whole thing. Because what we experienced last week from the demonstration, I think, is the main reason why now Fix the Country is saying that they should go and occupy Mahama's office to protest for the Airbus scandal. You can petition. You can petition the Attorney General. You can petition, whoever, to pursue this investigation aggressively. You don't need another demonstration. Why do we demonstrate? We demonstrate because we are in the midst of poverty, hunger, deprivations, no jobs. And look at the roads, the health system. Things are not working right, even though we have enormous resources. Now, so if you know, like we are even talking about taxes, the money is not being used for what it's meant for,
right.
and yet people are asking for more taxes, yes, you can demonstrate for that. And I think that is the reason why we demonstrate. So you don't go into demonstration just because a demonstration has happened, which is perceived to have been engineered from the opposition. And so you also...
they'll also demonstrate, whether it makes sense or not. I'm sorry.
That's childish. It seems we are not serious. We should be very serious people. And it needs. People are suffering.
Right.
If even you witness these rains that came last Friday alone, that should make you think and know that Ghana is sick, even though we are endowed so much with enormous resources. And so you see, I think it's petty for them to come forward to say that they are going to occupy Mahama's office based on this accusation.
Right.
When we have relevant bodies who are already working on it, and if they are slow, you need to petition them to accelerate the investigation or whatever, rather than take on a demonstration. Well, so for me, I don't think that is an issue we should seriously think about.
Right, right. Doc, we're grateful that you've joined us this morning. It's been insightful and exciting engaging you. And I look forward to the next time. Of course, Dr. Christopher Ampadu, he's a sociologist and political analyst, joining the conversation with us this morning. Just to leave you with these headlines, the Chronicle: Alan Cash to drop political bombshell today. It's at the Movenpick Hotel at 2 p.m. We'll find out what happens. And then redirect investment to Africa. Akufo-Addo urges global Africans. Mr. President, redirect investment to Africa. How about you redirect the wealth we have to the masses, the poor people? Yetisikaso, after all. This segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, and they're offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Here's where you can locate them all over the country. Here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Kronumabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Enzema. If you'd like to call them, the numbers are 0244 867 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Bringing us to the end of the news review and the start of sports up next.